I was part of the fall 2020 remote training cohort, and I had a really enriching experience. But one of the things that I gathered after taking the training course was some one-on-one with Jose Diaz. And one of the things that he introduced me to subsequent to the training was this application called Hypothesis. Now, Hypothesis is a close reading application. It's an application that um, I use quite a lot these days because we use primary source materials in this class. It's a history class, Introduction to Caribbean History. And the textbook also is very dense. And so I'm just going to show you a couple of the things that I do with Hypothesis. So one of the things that I do is I have this application serve as a close reading, social reading application, a device for my students, and they really love it. I have really good participation. It encourages, collaborative annotation and makes reading like really alive and fun and visible. Um, and so this is a PDF document that I uploaded, and I will show you how um, the students interact with it. In this particular case, this is one student who is responding to a general question that I asked, which was the aim of that particular week. How how did colonialism impact the the language of the Caribbean countries? And in this particular case, she's looking at this phenomenon called, um, language imperialism, and she is looking at how it has impacted the uh, the subregion of Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao, often called the ABC Islands. And so you see the student here, she annotated here, and she, as per my instruction, reference the page, um, page 114 in this case, where the information came from, and also she responded to it. So responded to the prompt, explain the development of a Creole language in a Caribbean linguistic territory resulting from French, English, Spanish, or Dutch colonialism. And that's basically the general colonial experience of the region in general. And so she is responding to this particular situation in the ABC Islands. Another example of using hypothesis is here. I in um, the unit on African enslavement, this particular student is responding to a question that I asked her to respond to, a specific question. I sent a specific question to each student, and they were to respond to the question using the citation annotation in hypothesis. And so the question here is, how would you characterize the conditions of the Middle Passage as described by Olado Iquiano? And this is the response here. If I were to scroll, the student's name will be revealed, and I don't want to do that. But anyway, so this is my response. I don't often respond to the students' conversation, but sometimes I make an intervention just to show that they're not alone. Anyway, and to give, you know, commendation as well, commendation and encouragement. One of the things that I think that people who are interested in using hypothesis should be aware of is that if you don't input the fact that you want it to be entered in the grade book from the start, then you'll have to do it manually. So it's very important to in terms of the setting of hypothesis, to do it from the onset. Also important is the use of some kind of guide for students as they as they use hypothesis, because it could be, students are just becoming familiar with it. It's not um, something that has been used at FIT for a while, and most students haven't had the experience of using hypothesis. So, for example, I'll show you what I'm referring to. This is a guide from hypothesis itself, and it gives you a nice student resource guide. And so I usually accompany all of my hypothesis exercises with this guide side by side.